We have round 99 of VV Gaming's Losers Bracket podcast this week, and we have an awesome special guest in Kim Rom. The CMO of SteelSeries will be joining us live. Thank you for joining us. We have another great week of content planned out for you. And I am joined by my co-hosts, well, two of the three that you're normally used to. Asylum is actually going to be taking a few weeks off from us while he actually is moving at the moment. But, of course, I am joined by Jerry and Curt, the hosts you have grown to know and love. They are represented by these pictures right here, as you can see. Let's see how they're doing this week, guys. Jerry, first things first, I'm going to send things over to Curt, if you don't mind. Curt, I love the picture, love the backwards hat, love the glasses. How are you doing this week, buddy?
I'm great, man. I got my stunner shades on, like a boss. I don't know what.
Of course.
I've been a boss since I was 5. Boss now. I'm telling you, boss forever. No, I'm just joking. But no, guys? Who wants to listen to the State of the Union when you can listen to the VV Losers Bracket podcast? I think it would be a good show. Kim Rom's always entertaining, to say the very least. So, we got a lot of topics to cover in IM Kev and all that good stuff too. Mm-hmm. Jerry, how about you, buddy? What's going on?
Yeah, it is another week of exciting stuff. It's always exciting when we get a chance to talk to Kim. I don't think a lot of people know him, and this will be a good chance to know him. A lot of cool stuff has been going on in his world, both at SteelSeries as well as with them releasing Grubby and some of the hate mail he got about that. We want to touch on that. We do have IPL news, right? So IPL, MLG, it's begun. They both hinted at what the next events at least are going to look like. So there's a lot going on. So, overall, I'm well, thanks. Let's get started, Jason. Where do you want to begin? We got any quick news or...
Well, gosh, where could we even start? Why don't we start with some MLG details? I mean, we got the first details of 2012 coming out, right? So that's some pretty big news. I mean, we've got the first event. The Winter Championship is going to be held in Columbus, I believe March 23rd through 25th off the top of my head. On top of that, we've also got this big Winter 2012 season that we're going to be doing. We have StarCraft 2 most definitely as the first title announced on the circuit. Like, that's any surprise to any of us. But man, some great prizes. 32 players receiving all expense-paid trips to the Winter Arena that they're going to be doing, where, $26,000 in prizes, I believe. I'd say this is some pretty good news. What do you guys think, Curt?
We're starting off with probably the most interesting topic to talk about with me this week. I love most of the news announcements from MLG this week. I love the fact that they're making it so where they had a lot of criticism last season about how European players didn't feel like making it, because in the end they would make it and then they would end up having to go through the gauntlet of the open bracket only to get destroyed after playing 13 straight hours of StarCraft 2. So for a fairly minuscule, there we go, prize purse. I think with this system, at least, as long as they do it correctly, which I'll note on a little bit later, they should be really well. I mean, you end up paying for the best players to go to the events. You do these winter arenas, so you don't have to worry about missing any content. You get to grow those stars that they love so much. I think overall it's a really great announcement, as long as it's done well. This brings me to my final part about that, though, and Jerry doesn't necessarily like me, don't like talking about this too much, but I hate the fact that it's the Winter Arena, at least for right now, is not open qualifier. So what that means is to explain to people how this system works, because it's not easy to understand. For people that don't understand it, it's not very easy to understand at first. It's easier than GSL, but just barely. So the way it works is they invite 139 players from the EU server total. So this is the EU server, the Korean server, and the North American server. So total, out of all those servers, they invite 139 players, and they also auto-birth in 8 players who placed top 8 at MLG Providence last year. And that's how it works. That is the Winter Online Qualifiers. That's all that is. So that's invite only and online only. What that does is once you have placed top 32, I think it's top 32, right? Let me make sure. Is that right? Where's that at?
I believe you're correct.
So top 32. Once you make top 32 for that, so it's top 8 in each region. You will go to the winter arena. So that's an actual LAN event, but it is not spectators. So there's no spectators allowed or anything like that. It's just going to be in, either the MLG offices or somewhere like that where they can do a LAN thing, but there will be no spectators. Right? So anyway, and then after that, the top certain amount of players from that are actually paid to go to the Winter Championships. They pay full pay to go to the Winter Championships. I believe that's top 16. So top 16 out of the top 32, they're invited to the Winter Arena, get all expenses paid to go to the Winter Championships event, which is the actual event that everybody loves already and understands. It'll have the pool play, the championship bracket, as well as the open bracket. So anyway, long story short there, you still have the open bracket, you still have that. But what you don't have is the qualifiers to actually get into the Winter Arena are not open. So you don't have a lot of the players that people underestimate. So for instance, you have the IM. The biggest thing for me was why I would love an online qualifier or open qualifier is you see stories like IEM, Intel Extreme Masters. They had the online open qualifier to attend their regional events. And you saw some amazing stories behind that. You see people like the It's Gosu player who took out DRG in New York. You see Feast, who did so well against MMA, and some of the other players at this past event, IEM Kiev. All of those players would not even be invited to this MLG system. So you completely missed those stories. That being said, to talk quickly about MLG, they have said that will be different for the next winter qualifiers, or the next seasonal events. So after the winter event, they say it's going to be some kind of ladder system or some kind of open qualifier system. So anyway,
right. And
I know there was a lot to talk about, guys, but I think it's really important that people. I think it's really important that people understand that, because I think a lot of people are missing. They think, it's open bracket, there's no big deal, but in the end, this is still not an open qualifier system. There are still people that could potentially do really extremely well and break out in the scene, and MLG, for this particular event at least, is not allowing them to do so.
But you know what, Curt, I understand that, because if this is the first time they're doing something different like this, maybe they're just trying to iron everything out before they open it up to other entrants. Jerry, what are your thoughts, man?
This is a tough one because I understand Curt's position. And it is in Major League Gaming's DNA to have open brackets for everyone. They've always done it in most all the games until recently. However, I don't know, part of me understands that what they have to do, and see, I look at this differently. There are 4 big leagues in the world: World Cyber Games, Intel Extreme Masters, right, ESL, and then you have now IPL and Major League Gaming. It's always about the money to me, I guess. I always look to see where the money's being spent and what's going on. And of the 4, the one that most must justify a return on their spend is Major League Gaming. When I look at like the Intel Extreme Masters, Intel, right? That doesn't do it for me. That's like a golf tournament, like the Hyundai Classic. They're not required to make a return on their investment, right? They're not going to shut down golf because of it. Intel Extreme Masters is sort of that way. They're not going to shut down because that's Intel's marketing budget. With Major League Gaming, it's different. Their job, their role, is to figure out how to make all of this profitable. So along the way of that trial and error of trying to make it profitable, if Major League Gaming decides to try it without an open qualifier, because either it saves in manpower costs or it saves in something, I kind of understand that. Now, IPL has the advantage of kind of being new to this. They haven't been spending money the way Major League Gaming has all over those years. And at the end of the day, David Ting is fortunate to be part of a larger umbrella organization in IGN that is looking at different ways to market itself and can add a little bit of money. Now, I'm not saying that he can throw money away. I want to make that clear. Fox News Corp is in business. And even though this is a small dot in a big picture, again, I want to make sure that that's clear. But I see Major League Gaming having to do that as their job. That's what they must do. Does that mean that not having an open bracket is the right idea? I don't know enough. So because I don't know enough, and I think, Curt, you got good points, it might be worth asking him. But I think where I disagree with Curt is the hoopla, the Reddit hoopla, the Dear MLG, oh my God, the sky is falling. I'm in a rant mood tonight, so to all you fucking nerds who have a problem with what a Major League Gaming is doing, your fucking ass is going to be glued to your fucking chair watching the MLG qualifiers, and you're going to be watching to see who's playing anyway. So go fuck yourself. You've got no other fucking choice. You know what? Here's my advice to you. Why don't you and the rest of your nerdy little StarCraft friends go ahead and boycott the shit out of Major League Gaming? Don't watch the Huck and the Idras and everybody else play because your fucking ass didn't get to qualify. Big fucking deal. On another note, since we're talking about big fucking deals, why don't we bring in my favorite Danish big
Great transition. Great
on the
transition.
show? Why don't we get Kim Ram in here? Because he knows a thing or two about... he does. He knows a thing or two about people who will chastise you for business decisions. So let's bring him in on the call.
Oh, this is going to be good. I'm excited now.
The legend, the one who does many great things.
Oh,
Hello,
yeah.
Mr. Kim Ram, how are you?
I am good. How are you?
You sound good. I'm glad you sound good. The Chicago weather has been not so kind, huh?
Well, I ran around outside half naked in a snowstorm. I don't know if that in any way influenced anything.
No, Mel, I thought your Viking DNA, with Havarti cheese and frikadella and everything else that comes from Denmark, you would be immune.
Yeah, so did I. I'm getting older.
Yeah, I know about that. You don't have to talk about that. All right. Well, for those who may not know the Chief Marketing Officer, Kim Ram, tell everyone a little bit about you, your role at SteelSeries, and more importantly, your very extensive background as an evangelist of eSports.
Okay, that was a mouthful. So I've been with SteelSeries pretty much since the company started. I was actually in a quick clan with the guy who came up with the first product way back in 2000, before the company was founded. I don't really do anything. I pretend to work hard and, I do things like this, but in reality I'm just drunk all the time and then I expense a lot of things and everyone hates me.
I think that's why people buy your product, actually.
Yeah. And people call me the CEO, but it's really the Chief Entertainment Officer. I just get people drunk and get them down to my level and then we somehow do business with them. I run our global marketing, and I have absolutely no qualifications for doing that. I basically didn't finish high school, but I had a strong passion for gaming, and I have somehow been able to my entire life work in gaming. I've done everything from television to games review programs for newspapers and gossip magazines and stuff, and then. In 1998, someone introduced me to a very early beta of a game called Counter-Strike that totally consumed me, and I built a few businesses around that. And when I sold that in 2004, the first sponsor that I wanted to thank for their support of my community site was actually SteelSeries. So I ended up just being hired as I came up to say goodbye, and I've been there ever since.
You have a phenomenal story in that I think a lot of people who right now are in esports and working passionately, they have an uncertain future. And even you yourself, you didn't really know where you were going to end up. But passionate, and I think also, to be fair, I think you were able to manage people rather well, but even now I think you've been growing as a manager also, right? I mean, the Chief Marketing Officer, SteelSeries as a company has grown over the years. Let's talk a little bit about that, you as a manager, because as you did point out, you do like to drink. Lord knows that. And you are phenomenally personal. But being a manager is about making tough decisions. And we're going to talk about the Grubby one here shortly. But I first want to talk more immediately about sort of the lessons learned as a manager with your own staff and networking and building relationships with peers and other companies.
Well, so I think I've been like extremely lucky. Either that, or there is some like disability thing that they give to people with red hair, because they know that they can't really make it on their own. It's one of the other.
That's true.
Yeah, right. Like, but you know what? Like, if you do something that you truly enjoy doing, and if you wake up every day and you're just fucking happy about what you do, and you don't go to work because you love what you do so much that it's not a job, then I think you'll succeed in life. That's and that's easy to say now where I'm sitting, but that has been my philosophy for basically since I could formulate those thoughts in my head. And that philosophy on life hasn't disappointed me. Every time that I get to a point in my life where I really don't like what I'm doing, I suck at it, and bad things seems to happen to me for whatever reason. And every time that I'm happy in what I do, good things happen, and I think that's a lot more important than strategic planning and stuff, because people around you will notice that great opportunities will happen, because if you're happy at what you do, you're also good at it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be happy.
I think you have wisdom there that goes beyond most anything else, because honestly, and I don't want to repeat what you said, but I feel I have to. If you love what you do, it never feels like work. It really doesn't. It doesn't take a moment. There's not a lot to despair. You can get frustrated, but somehow the passion and the love for what you do seems to wash away the frustration. Once in a while, perhaps with a martini or a cocktail, but aside from that, it goes away pretty quickly.
Well, so here's how I see it. If you have just a relatively normal career, chances are you'll be putting in 7.5 to 8 hours a day. If you have a normal cycle in life in general, you'll probably also be sleeping 7 to 8 hours a day. That means that roughly half of the time that you're awake, you're going to be doing something that is work-related. That's probably more time that you'll be spending with your significant other if you were, whatever relationship you happen to be in. So if you don't love what you do, and you're in a relationship where you don't love the partner you have, like I've been in a relationship where I didn't love the person I was with, that was fucking hell. I would rather shoot myself in the face right now than ever do that again. So why wouldn't you apply the same metric to what you do for a living? Just because someone is paying you money to do it, why wouldn't you have the exact same requirements to your job as you would have to someone you're in a relationship with?
And sometimes I think, it is hard to understand. I think it's about opportunity and creating opportunity. You have to take the opportunities that are presented you. And, I know I've been lucky. I mean, both my parents were from Europe, so, they didn't have a lot. They kind of lived that American dream, in an older immigrant sense. And, it is a lot about opportunity. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the opportunities that you, sir, have given teams and players over the years at SteelSeries. Having come from Counter-Strike, it's not a lie to say you get eSports. But eSports, the word, the term, it's been under attack. It gets debated. Over the last year and a half, we've seen, I don't know if we want to call it a revitalization, an explosion, but StarCraft 2 has arrived. And along with it, some other things. I want to hear from you the sort of current state of the industry of however you want to define esports. How are we looking, both North America and globally, and how does it compare to maybe the Counter-Strike heydays? Are we better? Are we stronger? And how do you see the future? But let's start with where we are right now.
Okay. So I think we're at what is the peak of esports, but, the great thing is that the growth curve seems to be continuing, and, quite frankly, we're experiencing hockey stick type growth right now. But we're definitely that esports has never been bigger, in my opinion, than it is right now. There have been isolated incidents with, a title here and there in some country that may have been bigger than what it was right now. One of them being Brood War in Korea. That could actually literally fill stadiums with people. But esports as a whole has never been bigger, and a lot of that is obviously attributed to to StarCraft 2, and then not again. Like in 2010, I would guesstimate that SteelSeries. I never did the full count, but SteelSeries sponsored teams probably won around $400,000 to $450,000. That's a pretty educated guess. In 2011, the teams that me and my company sponsored won more than $2 million. That's fucking insane. Think about how much more that is. And out of those $2 million, that was not StarCraft. 300,000 of those, 200,000 of those were perhaps StarCraft. Now that was maybe like a little freak of a year because Valve came in with a lot of money for Dota 2, and Activision came in with a ton of money for Call of Duty and stuff. But still, like $2 million. Esports has never been bigger.
And I want to look a little bit to the future. I mean, I guess things change. They always do. And for now, I think a lot of people are hopeful, and it's obvious StarCraft 2 isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But everyone talks about StarCraft. I'd like you to talk about things outside of StarCraft, because as you pointed out, there's a lot going on outside of that. And how do you see the other things happening, and where do you see it going?
I think the nature of esports is going to change, and I think it's going to change quicker and in a different direction than I think I would have liked, just from a personal perspective. I'm sad that a game like Quake Live went away. I understand why, and I think Quake Live was a bad solution for a 1 versus 1 game. In the end, I think it just didn't have the appeal and the game. And the immediate recognition for someone who's watching it for the first time, it was just way too confusing, and they were catering to basically like the same player they were catering to 7 years ago, and that's why the game just couldn't get off the ground. But I think we need a one-on-one first-person shooter game. I think esports is better as a whole if we have a game like that. I think we need a team-based shooter game. Whatever that game turns out to be, I don't know. But I think we need that game just to cater to that audience. I see the action RTS genre with League of Legends and Dota 2 and all those games. I think we need that component now. I think that component is huge in the West right now, partly because of the collapse of the Counter-Strike scene and just because it became really boring. And a lot of players that I know from East Europe moved over and are now playing the Dota LoL type games. And then I think we need one last component that I'm not really seeing out there. I was never a fan of World of Warcraft in terms of from an esports perspective. I felt it wasn't something that I enjoyed watching. I saw the Bloodlines thing, and that was a good attempt to it. I think we need something that is fantasy or whatever, but we need like that type of game. It just needs to be contained in some format. That would be awesome if it could be, I don't know, Diablo or something. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but I think we need a game like that.
I think everyone's hope, at least in the MMO PvP community, right now rests with ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2. I think that's where at least the developer seems to be very savvy about esports and developing for esports. As a matter of fact, recently there was an interview that just went up, I think, today, and they had mentioned their time with DJ Weed, and they were talking about some aspects of the game. But what I found very interesting was when they were talking about what was different developing for esports. I think that the developer had it right when they said, not only do we have to cater to the top players, but if it's really going to stick, we've got to have it be very friendly for spectators. And I think World of Warcraft always suffered when it came to spectator friendliness. And I think there's something a little bit more simple, at least when I watch Guild Wars 2, that may have more staying power. But I think in that regards, you're right. So knowing that you see a need for a team shooter, let's talk a little bit about the sort of the console and the PC and where shooters live. I mean, obviously for an MMO, even though things are changing somewhat, and specifically for an RTS, you're going to be on the PC. Shooters seem to have had much more developer support and staying power on the console recently. Obviously, Global Offensive is coming out, and I know you're a longtime fan of Counter-Strike. What do you hope for? What do you think is best if you were the eSports god and could make those decisions? Where do you see it? Where do you see as something like a team first-person shooter living, and why?
You know what? Ideally, I would see the same title living on both console and PC, and then I would, not see a server mix match because, in my humble opinion, a good mouse keyboard player would completely fucking destroy someone with a controller. But I think there is a merit to both of them, and I think there's ease of convenience that really shouldn't be neglected, but also skill that shouldn't be neglected. Since I moved to the US and I started going to MLG events, I was really overwhelmed by how good some of the console players are with a controller. Holy shit, they can do amazing things in a first-person shooter with that thing. And there's a skill to that. It's easy for me and other, old-school PC-style players to sit and, we're, so much more precise, and we could shave milliseconds of our headshots and da-da-da. But you know what? That doesn't really matter because it has its own skill level to be able to dominate with a controller, and you shouldn't take that away from anyone. One of the things that I absolutely fucking hate is when I sit in front of my gaming laptop and something doesn't work. And that happens a lot more than I sometimes remember that it does. Installing something and it doesn't work, and updated drivers and it's just weird DRM shit. I totally get why people just want to sit down at the couch and plug something into a CD drive and press one key and it works. I think the ideal esports game would be something that could be played on all those platforms and have one brand, which is what I think we need. I don't know what that title is, but I think that's what we need.
I know, Curt, that makes you happy, doesn't it? Every time we get Curt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think anyone would argue to the point that mouse and keyboard, obviously, just by the nature of the input device, allows for faster responses, and therefore those at the highest skill gap will greater be able to differentiate themselves from others. I don't think anyone is going to question that, at least anybody who understands the sort of reality of the physical input device. I think, though, and to be honest, when we first asked Kim on the show, this was before this had come up, but very rarely, Kim, do I feel, knowing you as a person, that something affected you personally. And you're not a guy to blog a lot, and you're certainly not a guy to grandstand or want attention, but when you released Grubby, obviously, and then you got some of the hate mail, you felt, that you needed to release the blog. And I want to talk, a little disclaimer here. Kim and I have spoken about this before over lunch, and I think I accused you, Kim. I think if I remember my words right, I said, I think you love Grubby too much. And it wasn't a surprise to me that you let him go. I would have done it even sooner, but I don't have to make the tough decisions you do, nor did I have a long professional relationship with Grubby the way you did, and watch him grow. And as a model of an esports superstar in Warcraft, he certainly is at the top of the ladder. I don't think anyone can debate that. But obviously, something happened that, the return on investment, the future, whatever. I want to give you a chance, one, to talk about the decision about releasing Grubby, and then we'll get to the hate mail on the blog, okay?
Okay, so the decision to release Grubby was actually not tied to his performance. I've seen a lot of blogs mention that. Yes, I haven't seen him win any super big tournaments. It was literally, you have when you run something like the marketing department in SteelSeries, you have a number of resources. You can choose to do it what you want. I can choose to invest, all of it into sponsoring, or I can choose to invest some of it into, say, development of new things. And that's actually what I'm doing here. The sponsorship I had with Grubby was not cheap at all. He's a very accomplished person, and he didn't have like a lot of sponsors, so the amount of support I feel the SteelSeries gave him was significant, enough to be a major line item in my budget. And I simply had I needed some development done on a major thing that I think will be good for everyone who follows esports, and particularly also for SteelSeries. And I simply decided to move that money. That's not the only sponsorship, and that's going away. It just somehow became the most visible one. It was a business decision. My it wasn't easy, but again, as my blog was like trying to point out, you have to make those things. And one thing, the reason why I say that maybe why it's affected me personally is because I feel that the company that I represent here have been a very good supporter of Grubby for a long time, to the point where I would say that we're talking years here, like multiple years, and he has been able to travel the world and do all these things as a gamer, partly because of the support that my company has offered to him. What I was projecting strongly to was that seemed to go away day one, even to the point where had people coming to like, now I won't buy your product because you're not supporting this guy anymore. And that I think will actually ultimately, if that becomes a fan reaction in esports now, you can take your hockey stick growth and shove it, because esports won't grow any further. No new companies will come into this place.
I want to pick up a question here, Jerry. I most certainly don't agree with the critics, but I do want to cite some of them. What would you like to say to the people that say, of course, other than shove it, which I think is a great answer, but what do you want to say to the people that say, well, what do you expect? You're wanting us to support a player when you're supporting him. Wouldn't you expect the opposite once you're not?
Oh, absolutely. So the problem with arguing on the internet is that you often end up arguing for standpoints that you don't really have. And I saw a lot of how my words were kind of twisted just a little bit, so had a lot more negative opinion or a lot more negative annotation, which is really I usually don't engage in those things because I just find them stupid. I specifically said in the end of my blog post, support a player, or support a company, that sponsor players if you like their products. But I don't think you're doing anyone a favor if you actively avoid those products, because I would just then take my marketing budget and move into stupid Google ads and print ads, as you see a lot of gaming companies do. There are a lot of gaming companies out there, I would say Turtle Beast being probably one of them, that spend millions probably on Google ads and ads in PC Gamer and whatnot. We've deliberately chosen as a company not really to do that. Trust me, we're testing it to see the effect and stuff, but we're putting a lot more money into esports, and I've done that for a lot more years because we see it as a thing that we want to do, and I'll be happy to get back to why we think it's important for us. If I can go and sponsor a player and have people consciously decide, oh, now I don't want to buy his product anymore because he's not sponsoring them anymore, you know what? Then it becomes very, very dangerous for me to take risks and to sponsor teams and players. Then I will, downsize my portfolio of sponsorships to, say, much fewer teams where I'm not taking any risks. Would I go in and sponsor an upcoming team called Navi, who ended up, dominating Counter-Strike for a year and winning $1 million in Dota 2? Back when no one knew them. Would I have done that if I thought that, it would mean that half of Eastern Europe wouldn't ever buy my product again when the sponsorship ended, or if that team folded, or, whatever happened? We have taken a lot of risks in our sponsorships, because we support talent and because we support up-and-coming teams. We would have to force to stop doing that if that is the reaction from the market. That was partly what I was reacting to. It was absolutely also, the years of support for someone like Grubby. But it was also that's a really bad direction to take for esports. Jerry and, Alex Garfield from Evil Geniuses and Alex Müller from SK Gaming and Sam Matthews from Fnatic and many, many others are out there probably on a very regular basis having conversations with companies that are not in esports right now, trying to convince them that, it's not just the ginger nerd who's sitting in his mother's basement playing games that they're targeting. They're actually targeting a young, technology-savvy demographic that spends money on stuff that they like. And this is, becoming as much a lifestyle sponsorship and segment than anything else. Those companies won't engage. If someone is going to be standing in a boardroom presentation 2 months later and, that sponsorship failed, so the reason why you see 17,000 mentions on Twitter is because people don't want to buy our product anymore. Can you imagine one guy having to do that for Coke or Pepsi? His career would be over.
This brings up an interesting point. And I see there to be a cynicism. And I don't know. I think I'm immune to it. And maybe it's... And I think that's a challenge. And I'll explain this. So there's all this noise coming from social media and the internet and forums and other places. And there are like little peaks and valleys in the noise, and sometimes it's a good hill. And once in a while there's a negative mountain or a really positive mountain that sort of pops up out of all of this noise. And depending on where you're looking and on what day and what your mood is, as a human being, I react differently to those noises on different days. Although now it requires the mountain to be taller and taller before I really pay attention to it. I guess I get almost immune. And in this case here, I would be surprised if the critics are the majority, but that doesn't mean everything you said isn't true, that kind of almost cynicism. I didn't get what I wanted. And it's a very flippant comment. I mean, obviously I don't believe the person who says, I'm going to buy, one of Razer's products because you dropped Grubby. I don't know if I even believe that person. It feels like cynicism. It feels like the spoiled child who's going to, throw a dish or something. And it's somewhat hard for me to take that reaction seriously. And I wonder if maybe I'm being, I don't know, maybe if I'm ignoring something that is really a problem. But I don't know. I want to bounce that idea off you.
Hey, so I don't know. The great thing about the internet and the annoying thing about the internet is that we're all anonymous behind those, little personas that we choose on there. So, hey, who knows, right? But I would say I saw enough reaction, both on Twitter, but more actually on email for some reason, that I saw that, that apparently sparked some emotion in people out there. And after, and I'm not kidding, I've been on Teams since 1999 when I joined my first clan. So I've seen that side both as a player, later on as a manager for some of the best teams in Europe, and now as the guy who actually signs the sponsorship check and helps these teams travel. I've never seen this before. So it's I started this conversation by saying that I believe that eSports is experiencing hockey stick growth right now, and that's great because it's something that I'm very passionate about. And perhaps this is a symptom of that, the people who are following the players in the Western world at least are also becoming, a lot more emotionally attached to them. Because that would be the only explanation I can see other, just people being canceled. Especially because, I know for a fact without even having looked at every single piece of communication that would have come from Grubby, and this one would have been as a gentleman, and there would be no hard feelings for him whatsoever. I know him way too well as a friend to do that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things you see now is not necessarily. I mean, I think the emotional connection too, but I think more than anything, you see this community almost, and it's not just this community. I would say there's other communities too, but especially the StarCraft community, where it's almost like if you were to drop someone, if they just try to scare you into picking him back up, you'll pick him back up. Like all of a sudden that's going to change your mind, and it's going to magically change your budget up for you.
I would use different words almost, because Jerry used the word cynicism. I feel like as a nerd who's been in esports for many years, I feel like this new resurgence in StarCraft 2 with all these people coming in to esports, maybe and probably for the first time, I feel like they seem to be like almost skeptical towards what companies are. Like I'm now a company guy, which I never really saw myself as. But I can see, when I read comments, and it was SteelSeries that was trying to communicate all that, asshole from SteelSeries trying to say something. It wasn't Kim Ram the person, and that's kind of new. I feel. I feel like I used to be able to just be me, because when I write something on my personal blog, it's all me. And this time I was just like, the asshole in a suit, which is, ironic since I don't even own one.
Well, but, that brings up something, whether we use cynicism or being skeptical. I mean, that seems to be part of this. I don't know, it reminds me of the sort of skateboard scene, the Lords of Dogville, this kind of idea that it gets levied against MLG as well, or some of the leagues, you're going corporate, or that you're making these business decisions. And I just think that probably reflects more either A, idealism, or B, a naivety about the cost that it takes to do the things that, SteelSeries does, that a league does, that gaming teams do. There seems to be a certain degree of naivety there.
Well, Jerry, we've talked about this before, about a situation where the community especially, they want all the perks when it comes to having companies in esports. Not just SteelSeries. We're talking, Monster and, all companies. They want these perks. They want the players to get paid. They want the players to go to events. But they refuse to accept any negatives, any cons.
Yeah. So perhaps, hey, let's also give credit where credit is due, because, as the resident nerd, and for many years I was like the chief gaming guy in SteelSeries. I was like, the guy who would sit up at night and actually watch the tournaments. The StarCraft 2 scene and the support of what esports is has actually also transformed how easy my job is. So, again, credit where credit is due. And there are more than just negative voices out there. I would say that, a year and a half ago, I would probably see 1, perhaps 2 emails to my company a quarter thanking us for our support of esports or for, supporting someone's hobby. Thanks to the voices of the StarCraft 2 community, that has gone up by probably a factor of 100 to 200. I can't tell you how many of those I see now, and it becomes incredibly easy for me to go in and argue to the rest of the executive team in my company that I'm spending 70 or 75% of my marketing budget on supporting esports teams and tournaments and whatever around the planet, when I can also show hundreds of voices saying, hey, thanks for that, and now I'm going to go buy your mouse or your whatever it is. And that's something that the StarCraft 2 community, I feel, has been much better at, almost sort of establishing as a tourist than anyone else has done.
Let's talk a little bit about products. I want to get to products next, because
yes,
when I think about having to justify that marketing budget, and obviously sales is critical, I think it would be fair to also say you get access, and you have access to the top players in almost every genre of game there is. And when it comes to doing research and development on products, you're able to, I think I've said this to you before, you don't build the Chevy or the Hyundai. You're able to build either A, the race car, or B, the Mercedes, the car that is going to truly be appreciated by a certain kind of driver. In this case, you're able to make equipment that's going to be appreciated by somebody who plays at the highest level. I think a lot of people in our community that listen to the show are very familiar with the products and stuff, but let's talk a little bit about R&D at SteelSeries, kind of the philosophy that governs it, and then we'll talk a little bit about, if I can force you to give up some secrets, what we might see in the future.
Okay. So what motivates us, and why I'm so audacious, I can say that we invest more into esports than we may be getting back in terms of just pure dollar, at least compared to other forms of advertising and marketing out there, is that we really like it. we don't want to, be like a budget mouse company and whatever. We don't want to be like the top, the bottom shelf at, some electronics retailer somewhere. There are, companies out there who are super good at that, and we just don't find it sexy and appealing. Most of the people we have in the company have, been very successful in other careers. And we all sort of like made a decision that now we wanted to make a company where we could focus on products that were like super fun and super sexy to do. Don't get me wrong, I still have to pick up a woman saying that I've designed mouse pads for a living, and I don't think I ever will. But I can also talk for probably 45 minutes about the technology we put into the Sensei and the 3 years we spent researching and developing that. Where we came up with a lot of stuff that no one had ever thought about, including our dearest competitors who have been doing gaming mice long before we started doing it. We find that super funny, and obviously our involvement of eSports does two things for us. One, it allows us to keep doing that. It allows us to become more than, say, a Logitech. They're really good at what they do. They would kill us if we tried to do the exact same type of products at the exact same price points and whatnot. We would never be able to succeed in that. We want to be like, the really good golf club where there are perhaps, 1,000 golf players on Earth who can reap all the benefits. And then our philosophy is that we can make that golf club for those 1,000 people. Then we just probably made like a really fucking awesome golf club for everyone else. But they might not even be able to tell why it's good. It would just like feel really good in their hands. That's what we want to do, and that is what our R&D is. And our sponsorships of esports teams and players allow us to tap into people where, among that talent pool, we will be able to find those 1,000 people who can feel the differences. Your own team helped us, do some stuff on console back there a few years ago, right? Like we spend a lot of time going out and doing that.
Well, I know Jason wants to ask you some questions recently about the Consumer Electronics Show. So, Jason, I'm going to let you take it away because I've monopolized this, and I want to let Curt, you hop in after that. So, and I'm sure, Jason, as we talk about consumer electronics, we'll talk about some of the future plans too. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Hey, and while we're talking about consumers as well, I mean, we've got a lot of people in the stream that are talking and asking their questions. So we'll get to some community questions afterwards because I think that'd be really cool to hear Kim talk right back to the community as well. So, Kim, I know that you guys introduced quite a few new products that you'll be bringing out in the future at the CES this year. Things like the Ion wireless controller. Can you talk a little bit about what's coming out in the future, things we can expect?
Yeah, I can. So what you saw at CES was we announced a small mobile controller that's slightly smaller than an iPhone. We announced a portable headset that was made for sort of like portable gaming or on-the-go stuff. And that actually marks one of the directions that we start to take the company in. We believe that gaming will transform. We started this conversation by talking about consoles versus PC.
Right.
I think it's all going to be a moot point down the line. It doesn't, it will go away. Tablets will become so powerful, and the technology will become so powerful, and broadband will become so fast that, I'll be able to sit in front of my PC and play a game, and I click pause, and, I go and sit on the train, and I turn on my, tablet of some kind, and I can continue that exact game where I ended off. And I don't think that future is all that far away. I'm not saying this is going to be next year, but I don't think it's all that far away. We want to be the control interface for that. Just as we are trying to build a mouse that will, give you actual boost your position and not just, use off-the-shelf technology. We also want to be the control interface for that future development. Right now, that's a controller called Ion that, I presented 2 weeks ago in Vegas. That can fit in your pocket, and you can play tablets and PC and whatnot with it. So that's where we start. But when we do something like that, the hundreds of hours have gone into researching the form factor and the technology behind that. And you have to take first steps somewhere. So this is, we want to be that control interface. That is our future, and everything you'll see from us this year, and you will see a ton of new products coming out, to be honest.
Right.
is aligned with that strategy, to be that control interface, to be that interface between a person and the device that he's playing games on.
That is very neat. And to be completely fair, the things you said, I don't think we're that far away from them. I mean, things like being able to play a game on the computer, then maybe pick it up on the tablet. We've already got like the iCloud and things like that, the cloud-based services out there where, you could be reading a book and on your iPhone and then get it on your iPad in the same place. I don't see any reason why we can't see that technology transfer over to the gaming world in the future. Can you give us a little bit of, and this actually was a community question, so kind of getting into this, can you give us a little bit of the design philosophy between the different mice that you're going to be coming out with and what you already currently have? I personally have the Xi still. I maybe would be looking to upgrade. Tell me a little bit about what would be better for these new mice that you're coming out with.
So, in terms of mice this year, we're pretty much going to stay with form factors that you've already seen. It took us, I calculated when we did the size shape, which is the same shape as we're using for the sensei. When we did that shape, I had spent 9% of my life working on that, which is like, my first marriage that was 9% of my life. That's just a scary number. And we're really happy with it. We feel that we really did our homework and we really took feedback and the learnings to heart as we designed that product. There's not a single thing we would change about it. And that's also why what you're seeing from us now are basically size variations of that shape to accommodate for different head sizes. Because from an ergonomic ambidextrous perspective, we feel like we have created what is the best mouse on the planet. Otherwise, we would have changed something on it, to be honest. So what you see out there now is Sensei, which is sort of like our flagship product, and you will down the line see more things in the Sensei family from us. I can reveal that. You see Lacana, which is 4% smaller than the Sensei. So if your hand size is roughly 4% smaller, that's something to go for. And then you see the Kinso mice, which is a Pro and a normal edition, which are 7% smaller than the Sensei shape. And that's, at least in terms of our ambidextrous performance mice, which is what we call the mice that we specifically do for competitive gaming, that's where we're going to stay for the rest of the year.
Very cool. One more question about products that will be coming out. I personally am wearing my Siberias right now as I'm doing this show. Love the headset. I noticed the Arctic Blue ones coming out. I have to say they look rather sexy, to say the least. Can you give us some philosophy behind what those were? What's going to be the model behind that?
It was actually it was a community request. We received. I did some polling. One of them was at DreamHack, where we were a major sponsor this year, and we asked a lot of people, like, if you could, if you had a wish list of things or features you would like to see added to the Siberia, what would it be? And illumination just kept coming up. I'm not particularly a big fan of just adding shit to products just to add stuff to them. So we sat down and we came up with some ideas where we feel like where we can add certain gameplay functionality and crisscross. So, there'll be like an active mode on the headset so you can see if someone is talking or if they're chained into a specific thing. And then basically for us it became like trying to make it look as good as possible. I don't think the renders out there really does it justice. But the final result will look like an old 60s version of Star Trek almost. It looks like the engine of the original Enterprise when you put it on your head. It looks pretty cool.
That's too cool.
Jason just had a nerdgasm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I got to upgrade. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah. Well, it all sounds great, Kim, and they, you guys have always done a great job with, the design, and not just the design. All the features of it. I remember still owning an ice mat, just less than a few years ago. Yeah, so you guys have progressed more than most can say that they've progressed. And you guys are doing an amazing job. But anyway,
that comes down to what I started by saying, that you have to love what you do, because I have no qualifications for running marketing apart from just really liking gaming. The guy who's our CEO has zero technical background. We often joke that we shouldn't really be paid money for what we do. And we just kind of figured it out as we went along, just because hey, let's try to do products that we would want to use ourselves as the baseline. And then if we can make other people say that they're really good in terms of development, then we really did something.
Yeah,
I think it really just comes down to liking what you do.
Yeah, I can definitely agree there, but it's I don't have the pleasure of being able to do this full time yet, but I can definitely understand what you mean. But anyway, I've got a few questions here. Some are community questions, some are questions that I have as well. Hopefully, I've got quite a few. Hopefully, you're not ready to kill me by the end of them. So, I mean, one of my first things is, and this was a question that was probably more based towards the beginning of the conversation, but SteelSeries has been around for a long time. I'm with you. I'm old Counter-Strike days, and SteelSeries. What was the original company name? Like Soft App Trading something.
Yeah.
Ice Mat. All that's been around for a very, very long time. If you could. Honestly, and there's a lot of companies that haven't been, DKT Pad, they didn't last incredibly long, and all the other tons of other companies that have popped up over the years. What would really is your suggestion to not just them, but just to anyone in the community that how to survive as long as you guys have in the industry?
So I think honestly, there's probably some aspects of luck to it. There's probably some aspects of being at the right time at the right place. I feel like we've been able to, one, enjoy what we do. I think that's super important. And then we're very strong believers in karma in general. I have half of my back has a big tattoo that says karma in some weird Asian language. And we kind of apply that to how we do businesses. We've gone into business deals that turned out to be bad, and we have honored our agreement with them. And I think that's important because, you're only as good as... Everyone can sell something one time. Everyone can do that. But if you can sell, a product to the same guy or the same company or the same organization several times, then I think you've done something. Then you've proven that what you did had quality to begin with. And I feel like in all those years, I've never really walked away from something where I'm like, God, that tasted bad. That was a shitty deal, and I really screwed that guy. I think that's super important.
Yeah. So, I mean, to talk about those deals, I mean, the thing, you guys do a lot of sponsorships, some, of course, for gear, some for, monetary support, some probably, just, all around. What, with StarCraft and its increased popularity, you see what some refer to as a bubble from the Warcraft 3 days, in players demanding a lot from their organization, which in turn demands a lot more from their sponsors. Are you seeing this correlate with you guys? Are you seeing this huge increase in how much it costs? Is it a problem for you guys yet, or can you see it being a problem, or is it still just gravy for you guys? Is everything going great with the sponsorships and what people are demanding or asking for?
You know what? So I think the oldest sponsorship I have right now is probably my sponsorship of SK Gaming. I believe we started that in 2002 or 2003. That's a long time to have been partners. There were a couple of years where I felt like their growth and their the audience that they would attract and the expenses that would fucking rack up by having salaries and travel costs and whatnot was actually outpacing the growth of my marketing budget. So that would be outpacing the growth of basically my company. I don't feel that's the case anymore. I sometimes get a little overwhelmed when I start by having a conversation with someone who's running a team, and the first ask they have is basically, like $250,000 for sponsorship. and that's fine. And then I just kind of walk away from that. And okay, that's not for me and my company to go do then. At some point, that may be, but I don't feel like the ecosystem and the return of investment is there for that type of sponsorship yet. I don't see the StarCraft 2 as a bubble. I think this is the first game that genuinely in a long time has created really, really good spectator value. And I don't see necessarily a bubble effect here. I see some parts of the whole ecosystem probably needing to find their feet. Because you can win some games and all that, it doesn't mean that someone should pay you $500 a month. When I played Counter-Strike and I was trying to grow my brand and my team, we would go to tournaments where we had like zero money whatsoever, and we would Shanghai the male restroom, and we would sleep there, and we'd smell like crap the day after, literally. And we were willing to suck it up, not literally, because we really believed in what we're doing, and we really wanted to succeed in this. I don't see the StarCraft 2 seen as a symptom of this, but I have seen a slight shift in sort of like the younger generation where there seems to be more of an entitlement towards having a really good hotel room and really being taken care of. Whereas I feel like back then, we just kind of sucked it up and gave it our best.
I remember sleeping in the BYOC area at CPL. So
exactly. And that was not a soft floor in any stretch of the word at all.
Not at all. I'm sure the same goes for DreamHack as well.
Yeah. At least they have chicks though, so that's slightly better.
Yeah. See, I mean, my next question actually goes a little bit back to about how long you guys have been around. You guys have been around for a long time, and you have originally what was, I guess, for marketing-wise was your bread and butter, which was, the Counter-Strike players, the Spawn, the Heatons, the Frauds, the stuff like that was, helping you guys with, with the brand. Now it's, StarCraft 2 players as well as general organizations and stuff like that. Do you see a big difference in the actual players themselves? Like, do you see any, huge difference in the representations of the communities? Not necessarily the numbers by any means, but just in the players themselves.
Yes, I do. One of the biggest mistakes I have made in my career was that I didn't pay enough attention to some of the players back in the Counter-Strike days from a purely personal perspective. And when you deal with people who don't have any business experience and you don't manage expectations and you don't, follow up with them, even though that they may not be answering your emails or whatever, sometimes bad situations can happen, and there are people who can be super disappointed in you without you maybe necessarily feeling that you did something wrong. I feel like that has changed in what I kind of see in the StarCraft 2 stars right now. Having conversations with, and Hydra and In Control, just to name the EG players, I feel they're so fucking mature, and I feel they're so smart and they're so conscious about where they fit in, that it sometimes amazes me, and it in a really positive way. I feel like, they've really put a lot of thought into where they are and what they have. And I feel they're being really smart about that. I definitely feel like they not necessarily want it more, but are probably putting in more of themselves, if I can use that word, than I saw many of the Counter-Strike players do back then.
Yeah, and I can see that too and like I said, it's on a completely different level, but in running an organization, and I'm sure Jerry probably sees similar things. I think back then you had certain players that had a mindset made up that they were going to be the next biggest thing. They were going to be it. They were going to do this. They were going to do that to make sure it happened. For instance, Fatality being one. I mean, in the end, he set his mind to something. You talk about Fatality all you want, but he set his mind to something, and he ended up doing it with, a marketing team. But I think it's a lot more players now that have that going on. They have this thing where they have almost this American dream kind of thing. You know?
I want to say I don't necessarily think that's bad. I mean, I think
No, I definitely don't think it's bad. No, I wouldn't say that's bad at all. I was just curious if he, if he saw that as well, like a difference in the players.
Sure,
see, I mean,
but I also saw a huge difference between a Counter-Strike player and a Quake player.
Yeah.
I hate to pigeonhole anyone into anything, but I definitely see a difference in culture, but also in personality that seems to be attracted to whatever type of game it is. I would also say that the Warcraft 3 players I knew, in general, seems to be different than what I see in the StarCraft 2 scene.
Well, I think that's fair.
I think most would agree with that now. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, even not smaller communities. What I'm saying is even completely different communities, like the Call of Duty community versus the Gears of War community. I mean, I think even people could draw, extensive differences between those communities. So, and you can definitely draw a distinction between the Call of Duty community and the StarCraft community. But anyway, I got one or two more questions. Sorry to keep you for so long on them, but so one of the questions was, one of the community questions at least were about the designs of the mouse pads. One of the best things you guys have been applauded for is how many amazing team-designed mouse pads as well as theme-based mouse pads, whether it be StarCraft 2, Dota, whatever, that you guys have. What's the process that goes behind that? What kind of investment would it need to be to have for a team to have a mouse pad like that? Whether it be, the EG mouse pad, the Navi mouse pad, stuff like that.
So for us to go make a team product, we have to assume that it will sell, and we have minimum order quantities when we do stuff. So I would say, by the size, this sounds really like arrogant, but the size we have now as a company, and just like how we're becoming less nimble as we grow, for us to go like make a mouse pad and design the retail packaging and print that and put them on a container and ship them around the world, I would hate to do that for less than 5,000 to 10,000 units. But we make exceptions. We have, some team pads where I think the minimum we've done would be like 500 or 1,000. And we do that because it's a great way of supporting the teams. I don't know if people know this, but every time they buy a team mousepad, obviously part of the royalty will go to the team. And it just seems, both for us and for the team, a really good way for them to judge the strength of their brand. It's the lowest cost activation I can think of where we can test the strength of the brand. Even if we only sell, 30 and we did 1,000, it's still a lower cost activation than, signing a contract where we ship their players around the world for the rest of the year. And it sometimes is a good wake-up call for the team itself, like, oh, wow, I couldn't sell anything with my name on it.
Yeah, and I think stuff like that helps with sustainability too, and that's a big thing with teams right now.
That's exactly how we benefited. I mean, I think when the way we look at that is revenue. I mean, I think any team should, right? I mean, Kim has enabled us to sell a product where we reap all the benefits from. So provided we can sell, then, in effect, it is a cash sponsorship. There's just a selling component involved, which I think is, if you really think about it, that's fairly normal in any business situation.
Yeah. I think it's an incredible way, like he said, to gauge interest in a team too. I mean, to gauge, how much they can pull and how much they're willing to work for it.
And there's also, to be honest, there's also a little ego in it, because one of the aspects of my job that I really enjoy is actually like the graphics and design part of what I do. My first jobs back when I was a younging was as a graphics designer, where I made 2D and 3D graphics. So when I can go do something like a team pad, it also means that I can actually go really heavy and spend more time than I probably should on just making sure that the artwork and the creatives are right. So there's also some personal fascination of that aspect. I don't get to do it a lot, so when I can do that for like a large surface area like a mouse pad, that's cool. Like, if you've seen the VVV pad, I would assume anyone here has seen the VVV pad.
I'll hold it up on the stream right now.
I think that was really cool. The stuff we did with the Navi pad was like super fucking awesome.
My favorite the SteelSeries design, the Tyloo pad.
Yeah.
What was the? Hold on. What was the? What?
To be honest, I gotta tell you the truth. Curt asked me for a VV mouse pad, so
I did.
He's definitely.
And I'm not sponsored by SteelSeries. This is unbiased as it gets here.
It was a positive sound. The Tyloo thing is actually like it's a mythological. My English fails me here. It's some stupid made-up animal, right? That is actually like composed of different like other animals. And I have one of them here in my apartment. When I started the sponsorship of Tyloo, they made exactly 2 glass figurines, and they gave one of them to me, and I still have it here. It's like really pretty, and that was actually what they ended up designing the pad itself. I'll show it to you next time we have lunch there. It's really cool.
Yeah, I love the pad, and I eventually had to hunt one down, and now I'm a proud owner. So
that's awesome.
But anyway, so my last question here, buddy. I've technically got 2, but one's just a joke question. But my last question would be a lot. This is, and we haven't asked this question. A lot of teams, when we just did a show for the Call of Duty community based on sponsorships and what teams look for and what companies even more, like SteelSeries look for. What exactly is it that you look for in, whether it be a proposal, whether it be a team thing, whether it be an organization thing? What are some of the number one things you look for in when someone's presenting you with some type of sponsorship opportunity or partnership opportunity?
You know what? It's super different. Remember that what I do is very global. So what I look for in a team in, say, India or South Africa is probably very different than what I look for in a team in North America, just based on our size and our distribution and the size of the market and sort of the segment of the market. I would say that, as you may be able to imagine, I get a lot of requests from people who would like to get a sponsorship. And over the years, I think
that's probably a slight understatement.
I'm sort of immune to people who don't take the time to put effort into it, because it's very simple. If they don't even put effort into a sponsorship application, then how can I assume that they will put effort into both their own performance and into helping me grow my business? How will that bring value to me? So when people don't even when I get a Twitter question like, do you sponsor teams? I'm like, well, fuck, you don't even know anything about what we do then. So, I just say no. When I get people who randomly fire us emails to email accounts that they've, sort of did with a Google search, instead of just going to the website and actually looking for more than 13 seconds where there are sponsorship applications forms for everyone, then I kind of stop reading. When I have people who contact me personally and ask me if they can just ask me for sponsorship instead of having to fill out the form on the website, I kind of stop listening, to be honest. And then the all-time favorite is when people either misspell the company name or think I'm Logitech or Razer or whatever like that.
Oh.
And that actually happens way more than you would think.
And the funny thing is, we talked about that on the Call of Duty thing. We talked about people misspelling sponsor all the time. That is, misspelling sponsor is the number one thing for me. Or not even giving your team name. That's a big thing too. But yeah, no. I think we could probably almost make one of those bathroom books of emails eventually. I always wanted to do that. One of those books that you just flip through and you'd be like, okay, yeah, that's one of that's something that would be great just to have there. But so anyway, I completely agree. And my last question's kind of funny one, but I have to ask: are we ever going to see a return of the online hero? Look, come on. You know what I'm talking about. Are we ever going to see a return of the spandex SteelSeries online hero?
I don't know. I'm not. So since I did that stunt, we have actually hired something that kind of resembles the HR department, and I'm not sure I would be allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah, if anybody's never has no idea what I'm talking about, please go Google SteelSeries Online Hero. You will be.
I can put it into context. Okay, I had just joined the company officially. CPL Dallas was coming up, and I had like zero marketing budget. So the weirdest thing I could find was to do like an online hero persona, because back then everyone was calling each other online heroes. So I bought this spandex outfit of on some sexual, deviant, weird fetishist websites. You should have seen the pictures I had to go through to find the right one. Had it shipped to me, and the whole thing ended up costing me like $1,500. I then put on this stupid outfit, and I smashed competitors' products on stage. And people could buy new SteelSeries products for 50% off once they had, allowed me to smash their old equipment. It was actually one of the, like, in terms of dollar value and return of investment, it was one of the best marketing stunts I think I've done. I didn't get laid for basically 2 years because people heard about this, but I saw the pictures. But it was absolutely still worth it. This is what I say about enjoying what you do for a living. If you can do that and still have fun with it, then I think you're having fun.
Trying so hard to find a picture of this so I can put it up on the stream right now, but I'm having no luck.
Trust me, I looked. I don't think they exist. I don't. I even checked Gotfrag archives.
It's on my. I had this profile picture on Facebook for a while, so it's still there.
Oh, well, at least everyone listening has something to look for now.
At least you have the mental image. Trust me, it's great. But yeah, Kim, I really appreciate answering all the questions. But I'm gonna pass you back to Jerry, and I'll leave you a little bit of time there.
No, I just want to. I mean, I think we're going to wrap up because we got to finish up the show sometime here, and I keep thinking about all the other questions that we could get into, but I'm sure that we can always invite Kim back on. Well, my final question has to do with this is an interesting time for leagues in North America. We have NASL, we have Major League Gaming, we have IPL. We have a lot of things going on. I think that's positive. I know you have something in the works with Major League Gaming from Twitter and other things. Tell us a little bit about what it is from a strategic level, the partnership you have with Major League Gaming.
Okay. So I have on my wall here in my apartment, I have around 250 badges from various eSports events all over the globe. I'm not kidding you, 250. I had to construct a thing to hang them on because they were so heavy. In my 13 years in eSports, I think MLG is the best answer I have found to a league that can unite the other leagues and who will be able to survive with a sustainable business model. They may not be there yet. I don't know. I don't know their finances. But I think absolutely they're the best. The best I've seen, where I see a lot of other leagues are fighting for their survival 12 months ahead. From my discussions with MLG, they actually have 5-year plans and missions and where they see themselves going. When I went to my first MLG event, and I'm shameful to admit it, but that was MLG Anaheim in 2011, I was blown away by just the production value and everything else I saw. And I immediately started talks with them. And it turned out that we see eye to eye on a lot of things. So from a strategic perspective, that will be the tournament for us that we want to partner with. Not that I don't think that there are other tournaments or organizations out there that are important. And we have many good relationships out there. One of them is with DreamHack in the Nordics. But for the American market, I see MLG as super important and as the best fit for something that will really drive the whole industry forward. From a product perspective, I'm working with people, in particular Lee, who was one of the founders of Godfrag, which is a major Counter-Strike site, and Casey, who took a large part in development of the controller they just did with Mad Cats, which is absolutely phenomenal product, and I will never say that again ever. And you know what? There is so much overlap between the markets that we go for and how we see product development, but also how we see product features and how we see go-to-market strategies and how we see creating value and long-term benefits for the community. that this was a match made in heaven. I'm kind of kicking myself for not going to one of their console events many years ago, but it was really the fact that they started looking more at PC gaming that attracted me to the league.
And rightfully so, Kim. And rightfully so.
Oh, Lord.
There's the...
Had to get
look,
one in
if
there.
I know that when you still are in love with the, buggy and horse, it's hard to let it go. But sometimes you have to move on, Curt.
All I know is, do you know where I found? Because I was trying to remember the name of this marketing thing that he was doing, the Online Hero, and you know where I found it? Gotfrag. That's where I found it. Nowhere else.
Oh, Jesus.
Gotfrag. All right, it will live on, and that is until MLG stops paying the bill.
At this point, I just want to say, Jason, you're going to have to end the show because otherwise I'm going to keep asking questions.
Sure.
Otherwise, we'll be here all night. I'm going to already start drinking. And as you know, Kim and I are going to...
Stop drinking?
I know, right? The next thing I'm going to be out... Start having ideas of going out somewhere. So
you know what, though? I think that's actually a really good idea for the future, where we could have, even if maybe it's a slow week in eSports. I don't know, Kim, if you'd be up for this, but maybe like a little fireside chat. It's required. All hosts have to have a drink, and we just kind of, talk about the gaming world and our thoughts and kind of have a little bit of an uncensored get-together, just talking, shooting the shit about the gaming world. I don't know. That sounds like that might be a good idea.
That's pretty much what I do every day.
Only if you bring the Online Hero costume.
Oh, my God.
All right,
I still have it. I actually still have it.
All right.
That is amazing.
There
That is amazing.
Curt, it's awesome. Kim, I definitely want to thank you so much for taking some time out. I mean, you told me earlier today that you were not feeling well, that you were losing your voice. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us tonight. And I know that everyone listening to the stream has even said, wow, I can't believe how many questions he's answered. This has been such a great interview. Really, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. Before we head out, is there anybody in particular that you would like to give shout-outs to? Anything you'd like to plug before we head off the air?
No, let me reiterate what I said in my stupid blog post. Support the companies that support the players and teams you like, if they make products that you like, and that's really it.
Word.
I've spent a lot of time in esports, and I don't watch any sports at all personally. I only watch people playing computer games against each other, and I think we're on a path to something that's amazing. I think we can all play a part in making it bigger. If everyone here takes 2 minutes out of their time tomorrow and tell someone who doesn't know about esports what it is and how awesome it is, we've just done a lot for esports, and I would rather see that than do a long plug for my company's products. That will come in itself.
That's so awesome.
Kim, it is never a time that we meet or I get to talk to you that I don't learn something, and I think you're...
So here's something that you also will learn. It's your turn to pay for lunch next time. And I've noticed that it's been several months since we had lunch again last time. I'm just seeing a certain correlation here.
I think you're right. I think it is about time for us to do something like that. That was a good lesson right there.
Good. I'll look for the invite. Have
Sounds
a great
good,
guys.
James.
I'm signing off.
Thank you again,
All right,
Kim.
Thank you.
Take care. Cheers.
Oh, wow.
All right.
That was awesome.
So here we have Kim Rom.
Mm-hmm.
I think he makes people smarter. I really do. I think there are very few people. I think Blizzard is one company, Major League Gaming, and in a way Kim Rom. There are just people who really care.
Jerry,
about...
what can you say? It's the Counter-Strike community. What?
Jesus
Oh,
Christ.
good Lord.
Oh, my God.
Look.
Wait, what's the guy who runs Cantor.org? Hold on. What's the guy who runs Cantor.org?
They grow geniuses, all right? We sprout geniuses
that question.
from the ground.
Oh, Jesus.
Where was that one? See, so no. I've got no, but I mean seriously, I think
you can't count that guy. He's CSS. Come on, you can't count.
Oh, Cadfrey goes back to 1.62. Don't you lie. But yeah, no. I mean, I think he does make people smart. I mean, he is a phenomenal person to hang out with. because his philosophy on having fun, I think, I don't know, I don't know, it's hard to find the right word because Kim's, at the same time of being intense and getting it, it's just his perspective on things is almost contagious. I think he, without trying, he makes a social event better by his presence. And I'll leave that at that. So
that's too cool.
All right. So we talked to Kim Rom. We talked about SteelSeries. We talked a lot about the decisions that sponsors make, where eSports is today, sort of that historical perspective. Earlier we talked about IPL launching their new open qualifiers for StarCraft. Is there any news that we need to cover to make sure we have?
We actually didn't cover IPL, did we?
Yeah, you talked about it. Remember you babbled about it, about how great it was open and all that stuff?
No, I babbled about MLG
barely.
and how they were not open.
He was more babbling about MLG and how they weren't open.
But
it's Curt babbling. I mean, come on, we kind of tune it out at this point,
what I don't
right?
want to do is I want to babble for another hour is what I don't want to do. So,
well, I don't know, because there is still something I want to hear your opinion on, Jerry, before we do sign off the air.
Go ahead. No, go ask away.
Because I had even alluded to this over on Twitter earlier today. I figured that we were going to be in store for a Jerry rant tonight because we were talking about, some players and sponsorships, and then we had some things happen over the weekend, and maybe you'd like to take the floor?
I mean, the one problem that I always have is that, Kim Rom said it so well when he said that, a lot of the players we deal with don't have business experience.
Right.
What does business experience mean? So tonight, why don't I talk about that? What does business experience mean? What does professional mean? All right? And I think that's really hard for people. I mean, Kim Rom was talking about, that they have a sponsorship form on their website if you want to be sponsored. And he picked my pet peeve. It wasn't his pet peeve, but he did pick one of the ones that's my pet peeve, which is, I know, Lord Jareth, you have a sponsorship request section in your forums, but I wanted to reach out to you anyway. Who the fuck are you, really? You wanted to reach out to me anyway? Why the fuck do you think that fucking form is on the goddamn website? It's because I'm fucking busy. Do you think Kim Rom's got nothing better to do? Or do you think you're fooling us with this, you were just too fucking lazy to fill out the form. Fuck you. That's unprofessional. Not being courteous of another person's time. Right? That's the same thing when a Gears of War player sponsored and acts in the way our Gears of War team did in fucking Hypha Station. Yes, it sucked, it lost, but it degraded. Are there people I was unhappy with? Yes, the whole team. Right? Vicious probably a little bit more than others, but so be it. Everybody wants to know, what happened? A lot of things happened. It culminated with security being called by one of the team members on other team members at 6 a.m. It wasn't pleasant. It was stupid. It was petty. Right? So what do? Drop the team. Right? Gone. You've been released from your contract. Your behavior was not professional. It did not represent VV Gaming or this organization well. So you're gone. But that's generally the same thing. I think inherently young people don't have that experience. Do you know how many times I have tried to bullshit someone when I was young? Do you know how immune I am to bullshit? Do you know how immune Kim Rom is to bullshit? It's not a pet peeve that you were fucking lazy. Fuck, I'd even appreciate an email that said, hey, go ahead and email me right now. Lord Jareth, I'm too lazy to fill out the form. What do you think of this? At least I laugh at your honesty. But I certainly don't think a lot of young people understand what business experience and professionalism means. Right? Business experience is about building relationships. It's about giving more than you get. And if both people are focused on each other's success, then everybody wins. Young people use the kind of political language that they see on the news or that their parents regurgitate at the kitchen table. They say things like, all he cares about is the money. The fuck does that even mean? No human being, let me rephrase that. In my professional business experience, I have not met a human being who all they care about is money. They like to eat. Some like to fuck. Some like to play video games. Some like to go to the movies. Some like a fine single malt scotch. But I don't find money to be the only thing they like. So when you say shit like that to reduce things down to some basic thing you can hate, you should go fuck yourself. Anytime you reduce an entire person's fucking being to one word or one basic desire description, you are a simpleton. I tell you all of this because as we get forward, if we look at 2012, we're coming on our 5-year anniversary. 5 fucking years of doing this. What do we do different? Fuck, we could take a whole 2 years off and no one will get more console accomplishments than we have, or probably in many continents. So to all you console gamers out there, suck it. We're accomplished. I'm happy. I look to the PC side, where we took a very different approach, very much about development. We fucking open, this is no shit, no lie. We open applications. Fucking, what game do we get the most applications for? StarCraft. Holy shit. What does it say about the quality of our StarCraft community? Not me. Not nothing to do with me, but those people. Why do I tell you this? Because I think in 2012 we're going to do some things differently. I think we might even look possibly at a whole new way of sponsoring players. In a matter of fact, expect a survey to come out this week. I know we're doing more surveys. I like surveys. They are professional. They are data-driven. They are not someone's opinion. To see what you think about how we should decide who to sponsor, and more importantly, what you as a community expect from sponsored players. Because who the fuck cares what I want? I'm more interested in what you expect, you as the fans, from players who are sponsored. And you know what? Your expectation that you put on players is going to shape their professional behavior. Once again, let me explain that. Professional, business relationship. You and I both have desires and needs, and the things we do make us both better. That's business relationship. If you have some dreamy-eyed idea that business is about stab each other in the back and so you can get ahead, you are naive and you are misguided. That's not how the real world works. As much as I am very sympathetic with Occupy Wall Street, the whole Wall Street isn't greedy, self-serving pigs. They might be gamblers. They might be people who like to take risks, but it's not at the detriment of all of humanity, contrary to popular belief. So why do I tell you all of this? Why does it matter, right? What is the point behind this? If you're a young person and you have dreams of being in eSports, it's very important that you understand that evil geniuses, complexity, SK Gaming, VVV Gaming, Major League Gaming, SteelSeries, Razer, the list goes on. They all are trying to do something that will enable everyone to win. You as a player or a fan, guess what? You are critical to its success. What did Kim Ram say tonight? Tell someone about eSports. When you are at a tournament, okay, pardon me. I don't want to say this because I really like Hypefestation. I really do. But let's face facts. Shit was stolen. There was long delays between the streams, and there were problems. Shit that I don't like when it comes to us needing something done right. And you know what? You know why? Because I think there's a level of unprofessionalism in Hypefestation. Why? Because players are running the show. Fucking turn that shit over, right? So when the gear, you know what's really going to be the sad truth of this? By the time the Gears of War community gets enough collective people to be fucking professional, right? Because nobody wants to put down the fucking sticks and everybody wants to play. It's your time has already passed. And if what Gears of War community wants is Hypefestation, that's enough for them, that's fantastic. But don't expect our sponsors or ourselves to spend a lot of fucking attention on it. because I've got StarCraft and League of Legends and all these other things that, guess what, phenomenal people who I enjoy hanging out with are doing amazing things in. Now, I'm just picking on Hypefestation. We already dropped Brawl, and that's no offense to Apex or the Brawlers. Business decisions. Simply business decisions. Be humble. Be respectful. I mean it. Because all the games out there that are not StarCraft or League of Legends, you have to try that much harder. And for some communities, like the fighting game community, maybe you don't give a shit whether or not you quote-unquote go mainstream. Well, trust me, neither the fuck do I. And if you like to do side bets and have your special hype and be mean to women and all the other shit that David wrote about, you're not going to survive in professional esports. Oh, fuck, there's that word again. Professional. I want you to maybe go ask your mommy and daddy if they are professional. Ask them what the word means to them. Because I think some people think professionalism means acting like an adult. It does not. Professionalism means respecting your peers and the effort and goals that you as an organization or an industry have. Try that one more time. Professionalism is respecting your peers, the organization, or the industry that you're a part of. So let me show you why we dropped our Gears of War team for unprofessionalism. Infighting is not respecting. Not helping someone out when they need to go to the airport is not respectful. Calling security on someone that is in your hotel room is not respectful. Stealing from the fucking show is not respectful. It doesn't show well for you, the organization you represent, or the fucking industry that some people are trying to grow. And all of you should have zero tolerance for that kind of behavior. I mean it. Zero tolerance. If you allow bad, unprofessional behavior to go unpunished, you will be nothing more than amateurs. That's all I got. All right. So, you know that picture you have of me?
Yeah.
Is that a cocktail in my hand?
I was just going to ask. I mean, you're a little bit young for that, aren't you? In that picture.
No, not in my family. I mean, my German, my dad Czech. I was drinking since I was 9. So it's very possible I was 9 years old in that picture.
Oh, my God. I don't... Wait a second. Hold on. Jerry, you had a childhood? You were actually nice and kind and loving at one point in your life?
Oh, see, now you assume...
You took that way too far.
Yeah,
just because he was 9 doesn't mean he was nice and kind and
Look at that face. Look at that face. You just want to pinch his cheeks.
Yeah, I mean, he might be the Lord of, Lord of gumdrops and lollipops, but I don't think he was all that nice or anything. Come on, I might be taking it.
Then again, if I was talking about pinching cheeks, I might want to pinch yours in that picture too. I mean, God, look at that. Look how cute that smile is.
Telling you, man, I still got those curls too. I'm telling you, they're a pain. they're a pain, man.
You use that to get all the ladies, don't you?
They're a pain.
Speaking of getting ladies, you know what? We've had this request multiple times on the stream tonight. How about this? Can we get some video for you guys and start doing some pictures in the future? Because, man, I'd love to see your pretty faces while we're doing this show. Is that something we could possibly look forward to? I mean, we do have something really important coming up next week. I don't know if you guys realize this, but we are going to be doing episode 100 next week. It's a pretty big milestone. I don't know. Is this something we could do, guys?
I don't know. That's the last of my words.
I'm with Jerry, man. I don't
you know what it is? No, here's the actual truth, right? No, this is just the truth, right? I think it's the kind of way that Sundance... This is a young man's game. I am not a young man, right? And as a matter of fact, I know Kim is certainly younger than me and better looking than me, I may add. But you know what? I don't even know why the one thing I never liked is pictures, right? Like if you look at the history of me, like MLG events, I've always made it about the players, never made it about me. And I don't know. I guess everybody has something they're self-conscious about, and myself on camera has never made me, never made me feel good. So, maybe that's something that I have to work on, and I'll take it into consideration. But one other thing. I was telling someone some advice about being an adult and about owning the things you do, and I thought it was so awesome when you talked to Kim Ram about that marketing stunt, the way Kim Ram owned it so well. Like he didn't really miss a beat. Wasn't making excuses. There's just something about that whole ownership of the things you do, no matter how corny or odd they are, that I think really resonate and make people respect you. And, I'm trying to do that same thing here by owning my own self-consciousness about being on camera and pictures and everything else. So. Well,
you know what? There is one good thing about this. We keep getting sexy baby pictures and youngling pictures of the two of you, which I am completely okay with, to be totally honest.
Well, I do get some people who have said to me on Twitter, I think it'd be really cool to watch you grow up as a person. So, maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe we go through until I get to modern day pictures, Right. So in about 10 or 12 episodes, we do the last 25 years or something, and then, I transition to camera. You know what I'm saying?
That's a cool idea. That's a cool idea. Evolution.
That's really what I had planned all along. I just didn't talk about it yet. So,
that's cool. I like it.
I guess I'm less hung up on the 100 thing, even though I know it's a big deal.
It is.
I think I have... it's hard to believe that you and you know what, I'm going to say this, and this is going to piss some people off, I know. But you know what, Curt, I got to say, I think you have been, outside of Jason and I, the most knowledgeable co-host we've had. You know that?
Wow, all right.
I think I would not want to do this show without the both of you. If one of you quit, I would be very disappointed.
Oh, thank you.
No pressure.
I'm already crying. I'm already crying. Jerry has made me cry, and not in a bad way this time. Not in a weep. Not in a weep in a corner because I've got lashes on my back kind of cry either. I'm telling you.
Well,
I really mean it. 99 episodes. It's been a long road. A lot of hosts, a lot of guests, a lot of things we've covered. Our rants. Brock got me sort of. Nostalgic when he went through to put together. He wants to do the top 5 Jerry rants of all time, and he kept on Skype. He kept going, I can't keep it to 5. I can't keep it to 5. And he would go through and listen to them. And he's like, you've got to rant more. You've got to rant more. And I'm sure there will be things like this hype festation moment that will come up in the future that I feel are rant worthy. That deeply, deeply bother me. Enmity is an example. Been with us for coming up on 5 years. I just written our 2012 strategy and mentioned him as one of those people. It took me about 15 seconds to say, we need to drop them all. And I think that at the same person who says that, I turn to both of you and say that, I think, if somebody said if you could pick from DJ Wheat to anybody who you wanted on your podcast show, I think in 15 seconds I would still pick the both of you. And that's not to say Marcus isn't incredibly talented, but our styles match well. Curt and I disagree about a lot of things. I think Jason's neutrality and position is critical because you need someone who doesn't hold the desire to grandstand like I do at times or things like that. So it's a good chemistry, I feel. So.
Oh, thank you.
So there's my picture for show 100. You don't get that, but you don't get video, but you get compliments.
Well, that's worth its weight in whatever you want to weigh it in. I will say that Jerry kind of spilled the beans on something a little bit special that I'm working on for next week. So I might as well just go ahead and spill it completely so that you guys that are listening right now know. We will have a special bonus episode next week where we count down the top 5 best Jerry rants. So from back in the day, back when he used to be a little bit more of a, do we want to say hard ass, or a little bit more outspoken in his feelings? No, you're still outspoken. What am I saying? But we will have that as a special bonus episode, as some extra content for you. So I've actually got it open over here right now. I'm working on it after we probably get done tonight. And we will have that next week as a bonus right alongside episode 100. So we're looking forward to your thoughts and feedback, and hopefully we'll get some more great rants in the future as the show continues on for its next 100 episodes. So with that being said, I think it's about time we wrap up the show. It's already 11:20 on the East Coast, which is a little bit later than we normally go. But at the same time, I know we started a little bit later tonight, so apologies for that. Before I do the ending spiel, was there anything else, guys?
No, go right ahead. It's already late, so go ahead.
I'm a little bit sad we never got to talk.
I do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. I wanted to give one quick last.
No, you're not. Come on.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not in the slightest bit sorry for interrupting. But I do want to say one thing quickly about SteelSeries and Kim Rom and stuff like that. A lot of you know, I mean, I'm not sponsored by SteelSeries. We Check Six is, and we're sponsored with TT eSports. And I want you guys to know that still, even being sponsored by another company, you can appreciate what people like SteelSeries and any other sponsor for that matter does for this community. And I want people to realize that just because, just like Kim Rom said, just because they dropped Grubby for business decisions, whether it be no matter what the business decisions were, it doesn't matter. There's a big difference between, you got to realize that this is a community in which they have been supporting esports for a very, very long time, a very, very long time. And just because they've dropped Grubby does not mean, or anybody for that matter, does not mean that you should completely stop supporting them. There's a big difference between switching support for a company, because let's say Grubby tomorrow picks up, whoever. So let's say Grubby picks up Razer. If you want to support Razer now because of the fact that they're sponsoring Grubby, that's perfectly fine. But don't completely deny the fact and what SteelSeries has done for a very long time. Anyway, that's a rant that Kim Rom has basically said. I'm just re-expressing that. I want people to realize that just because even people like me who aren't sponsored by SteelSeries can really appreciate what SteelSeries does, and you should do that for all sponsors. So.
True. Just to add on something really quick to that, I don't just use SteelSeries products because we're sponsored by them here at VVV. I mean, I honestly really think they're amazing. So don't just take, what they're doing or what players they sponsor and decide to support someone by that. Use the products, find out what works for you, and let that speak for itself. But with that being said, a little bit sad we never got to really mention IEM Kiev too much tonight, but who knows, maybe we'll touch on that in the future. And for the most part, I think the people that know who won wanted to know who won exactly, and then they know.
To be fair,
yeah.
I mean, just to be honest, I'm sure Live on 3 is going to do good stuff with IEM Kiev.
Very true.
And I will throw this out. It was the first time I watched a League of Legends final as someone who doesn't play, so I kind of had to struggle to get it all right. But I will say that when I was watching, I saw 175,000 concurrent viewers on that stream with my own eyes, and I was pretty amazed at all that. So I mean, it's good. That's all I'm going to say.
Cool. With that being said, let's talk about some other things that are good. Big thanks to VVV Gaming sponsors. I guess it's proper to start out with SteelSeries, having Kim Rom on the show. So SteelSeries, Gamer Grub, Control Freak, and MusicSkins.com. Another huge thank you to the band Power Glove. They sponsor us in a sort of way. They let us use their music every week on the show. Every time you hear one of our intro songs or the music we use to queue up before the show, that's always Power Glove. So big shout out to them. Thank you for letting us use your music. Another big thank you to the VVV Gaming community for your feedback, support, also the entire competitive gaming community. We've got a lot of people that have been tuning in recently from outside the community. Thank you so much. Our feedback is absolutely welcomed and needed. So if you have anything for us, please let us know. You can get in contact with us in so many different ways. You can tweet to us on Twitter at Losers Bracket. My personal account, all of our personal accounts are on the screen, at VV Paradise, at Lord Jareth, at ENE Keyhunt. Let us know personally. We love the feedback. Additionally, over on YouTube, it's the VVV Gaming. Subscribe so you can see all the video casts that we do. On Podbean, go check it out on Podbean for the audio show if you want to take it with you on your iPod or whatever you might use for MP3s. On Podbean, it's vvvgaming.podbean.com. If you want to email us, it's thelosersbracket at vvv-gaming.com. Thank you for 99 episodes. Next week, episode 100. If you have some ideas, if you want to see something in particular, let us know. My personal email address, paradise@vvv-gaming.com. I'd love to hear what you want. I will try my best to make it happen. And we'll also have that bonus episode next week, too. So big shout out to all the stream viewers that are continuing to tune in each and every week. We had Doomhammer in here. We had Biscuit. We had Trod, Buzz. There's so many people. Die Hard. I saw tons and tons of people talking in the chat. JC was in here earlier trolling his ass off. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We definitely appreciate it. I see Havoc and Crash in here, too. Thanks, guys. Let me pass it on over to Curt, and then Jerry will wrap up, and we'll take it from there. Curt, it's yours.
All right. Yeah, I mean, just to re-express what Jerry said, I appreciate you guys for letting me the opportunity to be on the podcast. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and I don't foreseeably plan on going anywhere until Jerry kicks me out, that is. So, but yeah, you guys can find me at Ian Keon on Twitter, at Check6 Gaming. If you feel free to follow us as well over there. Big shout out to Carmack over at IEM for setting a record. I mean, in the end, those guys over there, at the very least, from what we know, because the record thing's kind of weird, but they have set a record. I think the record is now 230,000. Is that right? Concurrent viewers?
I believe so.
Yeah, you're right. That's what they said.
230,000 concurrent viewers.
It's pretty unreal. Pretty unreal.
I remember seeing 30,000 in HLTV and Counter-Strike 1.6 a few years back, and being, my mind absolutely being blown by that. So
that's like the first time you got off the horse and buggy and saw a street light, isn't it?
Oh.
That was still in HLTV. That was the buggy, Jerry. Don't get it twisted.
Man.
But anyway, so yeah, pretty amazing stuff. Congrats to Carmack. I'm pretty sure it's a pretty big day, week for him. So, all right, Jerry, to you, buddy.
I just want to thank the community for their immediate support of the decision when we let the Gears of War team go. I thought everybody was very supportive. It's nice to know that we can make a decision and not have everyone question what we're doing, and understanding that, we wouldn't do it unless we had to. But I don't think that, I still think Monk and Midi are great players. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't bounce back from this, so I'm optimistic they will. I think Gears of War is better with good players in it, and they are. Maybe a lot of lessons were learned this weekend, important ones. I think that for us, I really do expect a survey to come out. I want to ask the community what they think. And, expect us to look very closely again at Call of Duty. Want to do stuff there, as well as, doing more things in StarCraft and League of Legends, and starting to prepare for Guild Wars 2 and everything else. So I want to thank everybody for their support.
Definitely. Agreed. Wonderful. I really am appreciative of everybody that tuned in tonight. Can't wait to see you all back here next week, same time. Hopefully we're back to normal time, not starting late next week, but I guess that's kind of our MO at this point.
We start whenever we want. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 8:15.
It's that fashionably late thing,
Yeah, we can't, look, we do know this, and this is the sad truth. 90% of the people who listen to this show listen to it recorded.
It's true.
They get it on the iTunes, they get it on Zune, they get it, so we know that you're going to listen to this whenever you listen to it. You're probably on a train, on your way to school, wherever you are, listening to this show after it's recorded anyway. So, a little bit of fashionably late will be okay.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you again so much for tuning in, guys. We're about to tune out now for the 99th episode. We'll see you back here again next week. Until then, take care. And like I said before, send me some feedback. Paradise@vvv-gaming.com. I really want to hear what you think, all right? Have a great week, everyone. We will see you soon.